How's it going, guys? And welcome to your Survivor Series review. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration of The Rock, his 25th anniversary since he debuted at the 1996 Survivor Series. And everyone was expecting him to show up. I quite frankly knew that he wouldn't. There just didn't seem to be that feeling where it was going to happen. But it seemed like almost everything was set up almost perfectly so that he could. So that was why a lot of people are raging, as expected, because that's all we get now is outrage. Whether it's the releases or whatever it is, it's absolutely tiring. Everyone else in the YWC is raging. People like JD are giving themselves aneurysms and this is all you see now. Jokes about the releases, but whatever. Now it's that they didn't show us The Rock. So first they're mad at Vince, but Vince, we're not mad enough at you that we want you to show us The Rock. But anyway, and Vince was actually on this show, but believe it or not, which blew my mind. I never thought we'd get Vince backstage again. I thought that they were done with that. Once they came back in front of the live crowds, I thought that we would, quite frankly, never see old man Vince again. But I was wrong. So we start off with a kind of a really weird intro here. They tried to show clips of WWE action and Red Notice clips. So, whatever, they're trying to promote a movie. They're getting money here from the studio to promote this movie, so they got to do what they got to do. But I don't know, this intro went on for 5 minutes straight, and it felt kind of weird. It was okay, well, show us the movie for a minute. I don't have any problem, if they got to make money, but what cost? I get it, it's about making money, but we're going to sit here and not be entertained, being forced to watch a trailer. And this movie looks all right. I obviously I'm a big fan of The Rock. I like Ryan Reynolds. I've reviewed several of his movies here on this channel, but I'm sitting down to watch Survivor Series, and I'm getting hit here with above the average length for a trailer. I mean, just tons of clips of the movie. And, this is not a movie review here, so we're not going to get too far into it. But this just felt overly long and super forced. And, I'm not going to complain about them making money over a trailer, just like I said. But, this is supposed to be Survivor Series, and we're already getting hit in the opening minutes with just an extended movie trailer. And the way they combine this together, I don't know, something about it just, I was losing focus here quick. I'm okay, this is, where's the show? This is going super long, and instead of building the angles for the night, how it would usually go, and tell us the build up of each match and why we should care about them, instead, let's just make money to a trailer. And that's all fine. Well, like I said, I'll never knock them to try to maximize their top dollar, but we're supposed to be entertained by watching this, I think, anyway, right? Aren't we supposed to? Isn't that why we're watching this? We're supposed to actually enjoy what we're seeing. So we started off with the first match of the night, which for some reason, I don't know, a lot of people thought online that this might be the headlining main event for some reason. I don't know where they got that from, but thank God that wasn't the case. This match was, I don't want to say it was bad or or anything like that. It wasn't really bad, but this was a really weird match where they rushed through certain spots, and certain parts of it felt really off. It really did. There was this spot where you couldn't tell if it was a headbutt from the back or a back elbow, and then there was the sloppiest figure four I think I ever seen in my life, and Corey Graves made no bones about it, saying that it was you know, like a bad figure four, and Charlotte's like just, you know, flying off the handle, trying to get out of it. I don't know, everything just felt really weird in this match. And it ended with probably the cheapest finish I ever seen, you know, and I don't get it. Like, both of them are acting like heels. So Becky wins in a heelish way by grabbing the rope in a roll up, and it's like, are we gonna care? Or are we mad at Cringy Lynch because she won this way? No. So it's, I don't know, for an opening match, like, first of all, it was super long for an opener. I really feel like if you're gonna open a show, like, you should not have a match that's going on for fucking forever. And this one really felt long. And this was a night of extremely long matches. Like, everything felt really, really long. We'll get to them, you know, not that that was a bad thing for everything, but definitely tons of these matches could have benefited from reduced times. I mean, my God, there was some real monsters on here. I didn't really clock them to see how long they were. But, you know, let's be honest, there was a few where I was checking the time to see, like, okay, what time is it now? You know, like, things are getting a bit late here. Then we get what we got throughout the night, vignettes of The Rock and his greatest moments, and we get to see The Rock debuting at the 1996 Survivor Series. Not to go back and check, were people chanting Rocky when he debuted? I don't know if they were or not. You know, his first night, people were chanting his name. I gotta go back and watch that. It's been a very long time since I've seen that pay-per-view, and I don't seem to quite remember that, but whatever. You know, if you're gonna have Rock's greatest moments throughout the night, we're celebrating his debut, you gotta show his debut. And it was a good debut. It definitely was a debut in Madison Square Garden with all that lineage behind you, but we knew greater things were to come. But definitely a historic moment, to say the least. Definitely, like, you know, you gotta say, even though it wasn't the best incarnation of The Rock, it's definitely one of those classic moments, probably of all time, because it gave birth to, you know, my second favorite wrestler of all time, many people's favorite wrestler of all time, many people's favorite entertainer of all time. We will move on to the men's Survivor Series match, and, you know, I can't believe that they're actually putting this on before the women. I guess that was the give and take. You know, people were hearing that Cringy Lynch and Charlotte were going to go on last, so I guess that was the give and take. Now you're going to get your men's Survivor Series. Normally, this would be the match that would normally go on last at Survivor Series, or go on, you know, next to last, and then you'd have your championship match. But, you know, that's not the case here. So we've got the Raw team consisting of Seth Rollins, Austin Theory, Finn Balor, Lashley, and Kevin Owens, and they defeated the SmackDown team, Jeff Hardy, Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, Baron Corbin, and King Woods. Now, I look at this, and to me, like, the SmackDown team was way better, in my opinion. You know, first of all, you have Jeff, Sheamus, Drew. That alone, you know, you've got some of my personal favorites right there. And the Raw team kind of looked weak in comparison in a way. I mean, you've got, you know, Finn Balor there, who I don't know who would anybody want him to be on their team, especially with everybody else. Like, you got Theory in there, who really looked out of place, just like Woods. I mean, think about this. You've got Jeff, Sheamus, Drew, Corbin. Yeah, you've got three really tall guys on the SmackDown team, and you've got Jeff, who's a legend. And, you know, so, and by no means is Jeff actually a small guy when you think about it. But, you know, then you got Woods. You know, he's not like a tiny guy, but, I mean, first of all, he's looking the most goofy out of anybody. He didn't have the crown on, but, you know, somehow he got the cape. I mean, does it still have Jimmy or Jey Uso's booger on there? He's wearing that. He's got the whatever the upper part is here, that stupid looking shirt, that king shirt that he's wearing, and he had that. So obviously he still cares. He, you know, bundled all that stuff up on SmackDown, and he raced over here, and, here he is dressed up as the king again, but without the crown. I mean, I thought that that would have been a good way of the crown getting crushed and everything for him to just shed all semblance of any, like, king gimmick. But, of course, they're not going to get away with that. They got to get through whatever it is. How many years left on this king gimmick? Is it, like, if we're going by Baron Corbin's reign as the king, I'd say at least 2 years, unfortunately. So, we've got the Raw team running away with it. We've got Owens getting out early. He didn't even touch anybody. He just walked out on the match. So, you know, I don't understand the decision there. We can maybe say that he's injured, but no, I guess it's the storyline. This was really like a long-ass match. It was a good one, though. I mean, I did enjoy it. Not too much to complain about here. I really did like how they had Jeff left alone at the end. I thought that that was a good, you know, choice. I mean, here I was and many other people complaining about the way they were treating a healthy Jeff Hardy. I mean, you have a healthy Jeff Hardy here. You know, and obviously, you know, you don't know how to build new stars or whatever, and that's all fine. So you might as well use the guys that have already been established and are already great. And you've got Jeff Hardy here, where great is an understatement. So he goes the distance here. You know, he goes all the way to the end. A good exchange with Seth Rollins at the end, and he ends up getting the curb stomp and the victory. So, you know, overall, like, pretty good, but so fucking long and just dragged out to the point of where it just got flat out ridiculous. I mean, really, like, they could have shaved so much time off of this, and there's moments where you don't even have eliminations happening for several minutes. Like, you know, you used to have these, like, eliminations, like, that were, you know, maybe not rapid fire. You maybe want this to go on a little bit longer. It is a pay-per-view match, but you could have gone through this so much faster. I mean, they're so obsessed with getting it over 3 hours, the entire show. You know, they didn't quite make it to 4, thank God, but they are so flat out obsessed with just trying to get, you know, that the most length they can out of it. Thank God they abandoned the concept. The Survivor Series actually was 4 hours. I went into thinking, like, I'm in for a 4-hour event here. Thankfully, they have abandoned that concept, but they still just, for some reason, just can't make these shows like a reasonable 2 hours and 45 minutes, just like how it used to be. They did it, like, with one of the shows, and I forget which one it was. It might have been Fastlane or some other show earlier in the year, and I praised the hell out of them for that. But that was not the case with this show. They really seemed like, you know, they didn't have like a lot of matches planned, but they just really dragged out. But, you know, it was good. Everyone seemed to be working really hard in this match. As far as like Austin Theory, I can't really get a feel for this guy. You know, he seems like he could be like that classic cocky heel, but we have so many of the cocky heel characters, and, you know, we've got him taking selfies. The guy's got a pretty good physique, but, you know, I don't really know. I didn't really get too much of a feel of this guy, and from what I see, like, on clips from Raw, from what they're showing, I don't really see them really funneling this guy to any huge superstardom, like, but anyway, I mean, you know, decent enough match here. Vince McMahon shows off his egg, and let me tell you something, for all intents and purposes, this was probably the most memorable thing on this show, was that fucking egg. I was just... He comes out of the limo, McMahon, and this took place on the pre-show, which I did not watch. He comes out of the limo, holds an egg, and, like, doesn't even say anything. We've got Adam Pearce, Sonya Deville, and a bunch of others getting super excited over this egg. They don't even know what it is. McMahon doesn't even say a word to tell them what the hell he's holding. It's just a golden egg. And people are going, egg, 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 and they're chanting. And I'm like, they're fucking chanting over an egg. They don't even know where he got it, if he laid it, if he had some kind of weird ass chick in Connecticut that made this egg. But here's an egg. We're chanting for it, and this just made everybody in this scene look like a bunch of imbeciles. But McMahon holding that egg, that's just classic meme fashion McMahon right there. You know, and people were like hating on Vince. You know, people getting super angry over Vince because of the releases and everything. Vince is the devil and everything. To me, I mean, this was just hilarious because, you know, here's McMahon holding an egg, and I mean, I don't know, but I just, this was tremendously over with me for some reason. It was just the goofiest fucking thing, and we're going to talk about it later on, what happens, like, oh, and it's coming up, by the way. So we show The Rock at Survivor Series 1998. It's so funny, and I was happy that they showed this, because this is like a classic Rock moment that they don't really talk about it a whole lot, really. This was such an amazing Survivor Series pay-per-view. Probably one of the greatest Russo swerves of all time. Probably one of the best pieces of writing I've ever seen in WWE history. Where we're like led to believe in the coming weeks, and they didn't do this justice enough. You know, the announcers should have put this over. Like, this is back when, you know, they could tell a story. They had Vince Russo there, so of course, you know, they could get their point across really well. For weeks and weeks, The Rock was getting screwed over by McMahon. He wasn't even going to be in the Survivor Series tournament. This was a tournament for the WWE Championship that had been vacated. And they ended up doing this much later on in 2015 with Roman Reigns, and, you know, but so there was an interesting parallel there. And I believe they sort of told that story in 2015, but whatever. So it comes to the end, and it's The Rock and Mankind, and Vince does the classic ringing the bell 1 year later from what they did at the 1997 Survivor Series with Brett and Shawn Michaels. And they did it again, and it was, you know, The Rock joining the corporation, screwing, you know, they screwed over the world. JR on commentary, putting it over big time, making it a larger-than-life memorable moment. Yeah, I mean, this was the swerve of all swerves. You thought that Vince was going to screw The Rock out of the title, and he actually helps him win the title in the end. And the way the story was told to fool everybody, it was great. And this is like one of my favorite wrestling moments of all time, to be quite honest. I can't gush over it enough, and it deserves to be gushed over because it's a brilliant piece of wrestling WWE history here. So we move to the back, and we've got Vince McMahon and Roman Reigns in the same room. Roman looks at the security guard that's guarding Vince. He kind of nods at him, and he moves away. Roman like knocks as he enters, and there's Vince. And, you know, someone put this over, like, online. Like, how the hell does, like, Vince McMahon... I mean, this guy is in such great shape. You know, I can't, you know, give him enough of a compliment there, you know, for his age especially. But, you know, McMahon just... He looks old. Like, his face is just, like... I don't know what it is, but his face is just... He started to age very rapidly at one point. Like, I remember seeing him back in, like, 2012, and then they showed him again, like, several years later when he was face-to-face with, like, Kevin Owens. And I remember, like, I was like, this is only, like, 5 years apart, and for some reason, like, he just looks so much older than me, and I never got it. Like, how could the guy look that much older? So... he's first of all, let me tell you something about this segment right here. The audio was fucking awful. I couldn't hear anything. You know, Bernard Scott over on Twitter, you know, was telling me, he tagged me in the post, and I guess he knew I was gonna rant on this part. But I'm like, This was like some of the worst audio I think I've heard since they were at the Thunderdome. I mean, first of all, Vince was whispering. He was doing that classic, let's go Brandon whisper there. Like, just, what? Can you speak up there a bit, McMahon? Like, he was just talking like this the whole time. And he's talking about this egg, and I think I might have heard that it was a gift from The Rock from the movie. It was like, he said it's not an actual prop. It's actually like the genuine article. So I don't know, like, was this the thing that they're kind of like, are they stealing this in the movie or something? Like, isn't that movie supposed to be like a heist movie of some sort? I don't know. But anyway, he says that egg, that piece of garbage, is worth $100 million. And like, Roman is like really not that impressed by it. I couldn't hear like really what was going on too well. I don't know, but that same audio guy probably struck. We really haven't had this problem within the, since after they got out of the Thunderdome, the audio got better. But it seems like that really bad audio guy is back, because they had like McMahon's volume like all the way down, or they didn't have the room mic'd up properly. But anyway, I see old man McMahon just, doing his classic facial expressions, and I just wish I could have heard it better. But yeah, there's this is the egg. The egg is over with me. Obviously, this was supposed to be some kind of like cute little nod to the gobbledygooker as well. They didn't really put it over like that. You kind of had Corey Graves at one moment say, this wasn't the last time there would be something like with an egg at Survivor Series, so they kind of knew about it. They didn't say it, but anyone who's like a newer fan to this or hasn't watched like the old stuff, probably wouldn't even know what the hell they're doing here. Like, it's a fucking gold egg, like, and it was kind of weird that they were, here's McMahon, we haven't seen him in ages, and they're going on about an egg, and it's just felt bizarre, but it was like kind of hilarious at the same time. We had the 25-man battle royal that was sponsored by Pizza Hut, and of course, they had to have tons of pizza on the outside, and you had the Street Profits coming out with boxes of pizza, and this was supposed to be the celebration for Rock 25, his 25th anniversary. So he's honored by having a battle royal with a bunch of jobbers in it, basically. People that are barely on TV, people who have been drafted, who have not even been anywhere near a ring since the draft or even on TV. Like, you had like T-Bar in there. I know he's on Raw, but has he even been there? Mace, I don't know what happened to that guy. He did like one promo on Smackdown, and then he was gone, and I don't know if he's injured or something like that. But anyway, Almos wins this thing. He tried getting bribed by R-Truth with pizza at one point. We also had this really just kind of funny, but really like a cringy funny moment, if you know what I mean, where Byron Sex Addict is begging the Street Profits for pizza. He's like, yeah, I want it. And I was like, it was like really just kind of weird and overblown and just completely overacted. And then the Street Profits ended up handing the pizza over to Michael Cole. And, let me tell you something here. Pat McAfee was like the star of the show pretty much the whole night. The guy just was on fire this whole entire night and just doing an excellent job. And I don't even know if was he even involved in this segment. I forget if he was, but just wanted to say that because they kept switching out the announcers. It was getting confusing, and I just really thought that he should have just left it with like Corey Graves, Michael Cole, and Pat McAfee. But they kept throwing Byron Sex Addict in there, and Jimmy Smith is like, I think he's pretty decent. He's got a good voice. They were throwing him in there. Okay, maybe like swap him out with Graves. I'm not the biggest Graves fan. I know certain people are, but I don't really get too much from that guy. Anyway, so Almost wins. we got AJ and Sami Zayn, and you know they tried to do some like fun little moments in there, but overall it didn't feel special because there was nothing special about it. You just won a battle royal here to celebrate The Rock's like debut. Like, okay, so are they getting a title shot? Are they, you know, gonna main event the next pay-per-view? Like, no, nothing was announced. I don't know. It's sponsored by Pizza Hut, so there. Like, okay, random as hell battle royal with like random competitors with no real purpose for existing. Like, to me, this is how you celebrate like one of your greatest wrestlers of all time. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, it was just a random battle royal that could have happened on any show imaginable. But, you know, you just call it the Rock 25 Battle Royal, and, well, there you go. Not even a trophy or anything like that. I don't know. Almost was about to get the pizza, but the Street Profits run away with it. Oh, no pizza for Almost. And they start throwing pizza into the crowd, and, like, I don't know. Like, can you imagine, like, pizza like falling on the floor and people picking it up and eating it, and like also pizza hitting people in the face, got sauce and cheese over people's faces? Like, I don't know. I just didn't think it was the best idea to, like, you know, it's really funny because remember like the Street Profits at one point, I think they were like throwing money into the audience. At one time they were throwing like Lita's like lingerie into the audience, and now we've kind of regressed to just throwing pizza into the audience. You see what I was saying? Like when I was doing that comparison with Crime Time being over and the Street Profits, and you know the similarities there, and they kind of tried to do it again here, and I don't know, you know, yeah. But we got The Rock, another little vignette of him at Royal Rumble 2000. So we're kind of branching away from the Survivor Series, you know. I don't know. I thought like they kind of should have kept it with Survivor Series in a way, like, and show like what The Rock had done at Survivor Series, because there's like plenty more to choose from, I believe. Well, maybe not so much because he wasn't at 2002, so I guess they kind of had to start branching off because, you know, you only really at that point had like the 99 Survivor Series, and he didn't really win anything there. The 2000 Survivor Series where he wrestled Rikishi, and you know, so I guess there wasn't really enough like massive huge moments, so they kind of had to start branching out. It became more of like a career retrospective. So yeah, definitely like a good moment, you know, The Rock's one and only Royal Rumble win. Then we moved on to the well, first they showed us a little recap. This is what I didn't watch on the pre-show. Nakamura defeating Damian Priest by disqualification. Okay, I'm not really upset that I missed that, unless McAfee was on commentary marking out again for Boogs. Priest had broken Boogs' guitar, and I think he hit Nakamura with a piece of it, and that's what caused the disqualification. That was the U.S. champion versus the IC champion. We had RK Bro. You know, this like I even like on my notes here, I always start writing like rated RKO, because that's just when I think Randy Orton in a tag team, my mind just immediately goes to rated RKO. Like that's just how it is. So I wrote rated RK Bro. So yeah, RK Bro, they defeated the Usos, and what was a pretty good tag match. I enjoyed it for what it was. You know, decent enough. Tag champions from Raw versus the tag champions of SmackDown. Pretty good. I enjoyed it. We had the another moment, The Rock against John Cena at WrestleMania 28. So they completely skipped over like The Rock versus Austin, which is like undoubtedly his like career-defining moments. The Rock and Sock connection, his feud with Triple H, you know, all these like huge, massive moments to get to The Rock versus Cena, which was a really good match and a decent feud. But you know, I don't know, you jump right to that, and we'll talk about another moment that, to me, like, they should have just skipped it because it wasn't really that great. Vince McMahon is in the back, and someone has stolen his egg. And we've got Scrap Heap, Adam Pearce, and Sonya Deville all worried, making their stupid facial expressions, you know, and he's saying, if you can't find who's gotten the egg, he says, interview all the superstars and assemble them at Raw if you still can't find it. So I guess that's what's going to happen tonight on Raw. I won't be watching it, you know, but I'll probably watch that clip because that should be pretty humorous. You're going to have, like, all these superstars being asked about a fucking egg. I get it. It's supposed to be worth $100 million, but it's, like, the goofiest thing of all time. I mean, we went from, like, finding out who Vince's son is, like, all these little interesting angles, to, like, finding out who stole a fucking egg. That's just lame as hell. Anyway, so, like, you know, Sonya just gets up, I gotta get out of here and look for the egg, you know, and it was just really just like, this is just super random. And I get it, like, that's the connection because The Rock's not there. It's The Rock's egg. Okay, and it was a gift from The Rock. He's like, The Rock is going to be upset. Oh, yeah, I could see The Rock really crying his eyes out over that. What do you mean, Vince? Well, you lost my egg that I gave to you? Oh! Xyla Lee is coming to SmackDown. I, for some reason, omitted this from my SmackDown review. It completely, like, you know, there's just so many things, like I said, like SmackDown, people have entrances, and then they're doing 1,000 segments. Sometimes I forget to write it down. But this, like, vignette, this looked so oddly familiar. I'll give you a moment to guess. Can you remember someone who had this, like, animated vignette style? Could anyone think Aleister Black, maybe? Yeah? Like, this was point for point like an Aleister Black type of thing, where she's talking about her family and everything, and, you know, her family's honor. I mean, this was just kind of like Aleister Black talking about his father, and, like, you know, I was like, wow, they're just kind of transferring that over, and instead, you know, talking about Xyla Lee, like, kicking her landlord's ass, and, like, it was well animated, though. Whoever put this together obviously spent quite a bit of time. I think the animation on this was even better than the Aleister Black one. I do not see anything really coming out of this. Like, to me, this just is, like, very cartoonish. You know, like, we're going to have the ninja character. Like, here comes Melina from Mortal Kombat, or the Chun-Li of Street Fighter. You know, we're just gonna have, like, this super cartoony character that's gonna come in there and, like, you know, I don't know. Like, don't you already have Asuka? Like, what happened with her? So, you know, Xyla Lee, I mean, I will say this, Xyla Lee looks a bit more threatening than Asuka. I don't know. She looks like she's maybe a little bit taller and all that. I don't know, but whatever. I just don't really see Xyla Lee going too many places. And this is just from a vignette, because I just can tell from, like, this is the theme of things. First of all, they already have way too many women. We're going to see this tag match in a moment that we're going to talk about. There wasn't anything really in that match that showed, like, they're going to be making any new stars out of any of those women, to be quite honest. Then it was time for the women's SmackDown versus Raw Survivor Series match, and holy fucking shit, this was long as hell. I felt like the men's one was pretty good. You know, like I said, I liked the way it ended with Jeff Hardy and everything, and Rollins, and I thought, like, everyone kind of did their piece to keep the match good, although it was going on for just a tad too long. This one, to me, like, it was like they didn't have a lot planned for it, and it really, really showed. Like, there was, like, nothing in this match that really seemed like it was worth watching. So it was Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, Queen Zelina, Carmella, and Liv Morgan. And they defeated Team SmackDown, which was Sasha Banks, Shotzi, Toni Storm, Natalya, and Shayna Baszler. I mean, this did nothing for Toni Storm. Like, it didn't really show that she was going to be, like, a big star or anything like that. You know, leading into, like, a match with, like, Charlotte, like, after, like, this kind of match, like, I don't really see how, you know, you would think maybe they would have made her go the distance, but instead it got to the point where it was Bianca Belair being faced with, like, a 4-on-1 situation. It was like a 3-on-1 situation, something like that. The eliminations were just not happening in this match. They were happening, like, very infrequently, to the point where I was like, is anyone trying to eliminate anyone in this match? Like, it just seemed like it was taking such a long time to get to that point where we were going to be faced with the urgency of Bianca Belair. And then the match started to pick up. I don't know why they figured that the last two should be Bianca and Shotzi. You know, I thought that that was kind of a weird pick at the end. I guess, you know, they want to try to bring Shotzi to the next level, but I just don't see it happening. And this just didn't do anything for, like, anyone. You know, they cost Sasha the match. They kept her out of the ring and they made her get counted out. Just very, like, weirdly paced, and it didn't really it didn't seem like they really knew what they wanted to do in this match. Felt really disjointed until they got to the end, which was decent. By that point, we're already, like, almost like a half an hour into this match. Like, just so fucking long, and I know what they're doing. Like, they want to try to make, like, the men's match and the women's match, like, equal times, but, like, it's just getting ridiculous. Like, so a few fucking nerds will complain online about the women getting a little bit less time than the men. Like, is that what they're worried about? Like, come on, because this is what happens when you do this. Like, the women were just not having a good night on this show, in my opinion. Just, I mean, most of the time, they're not. Most of the segments, as we talk about on SmackDown and pay-per-views, are way too long, poorly acted, and, you know, this is kind of like what we got here. Then we get another Rock moment. It was The Rock, Cringy Lynch, and Baron Corbin, and, like, this is a segment that was, like, a real mixed bag. This is a segment that would have been way better if they just let The Rock and Corbin go at it, but for some reason, well, you know, not some reason, but we know what the reason was. They wanted Cringy Lynch to kind of take that Rock popularity and just, you know, it go on to Lynch. You know, that's what they were hoping for. Like, some of that magic from The Rock would just jump onto Lynch in that ring and clasp onto her, and she'd end up being, you know, the biggest female star of all time. That's not what happened. Instead, we got, like, a really, like, you know, awkward segment with Lynch. Like, the parts with The Rock and Corbin doing their exchanges was good, but the third wheel was so evident here, I don't even know why they bothered to go back to it. Not like it was the worst segment of all time or anything, but if we're talking about The Rock, and we're saying, like, the Rock is one of the greatest of all time. This night is dedicated to The Rock and The Rock's 25th anniversary. This is not Cringy Lynch's anniversary. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you're not going to show us any Rock, Triple H stuff, no, you know, Rock and Stone Cold stuff. You're going to go right to that horse shit. Like, come on. That you know, no one really thinks about that segment. You know, at the time, I remember I said it was nice to see The Rock. It was a fun little segment to kick off SmackDown on Fox, but to come back to it here, it's pretty safe to say that that was a segment that probably should have gotten a bit more criticism from me. But anyway, we'll move on here. We've got Kayla interviewing Paul Heyman about the Lesnar suspension being lifted, and I thought that this was gonna kind of, or she just said it was not going to be indefinite, whatever that means. It's not indefinite anymore. So like, okay, so he's still suspended, and you know, like he's not suspended indefinitely anymore. Is he just not suspended? Like I don't get it. Anyway, so I'm gonna take that as like he's not suspended anymore. I guess. I don't know about that wording. But whatever. I thought, okay, so maybe is Lesnar going to show up at the end? Anyway, we move on to the match. It's Biggie versus Roman Reigns. I thought that this was a pretty good match, really. You know, it didn't feel like really special or anything like that. You know, Biggie just won the belt, so it doesn't really feel like a big champion versus champions match. And you know, aside from him teasing that he was going to cash in on Roman Reigns, like leading up to his eventual cash in on Lashley, I didn't, you know, there wasn't really a semblance of any storyline going in, unless you want to count the stuff with Xavier Woods and what just happened on the last episode of Smackdown. Like, it kind of ended up feeling a bit flat for me. Like, and for a Survivor Series main event, that's a bit unacceptable. Now, as far as, like, match quality, like, yeah, it was pretty good. You know, we of course, you know, Big E's got to kick out of Roman's spear, and, you know, and Roman's got to kick out of the big ending, because that's just basically how it has to go, and the second spear ends it. After that, it just ends. Thanks for watching Survivor Series, everybody. Have a good night. Like, okay, no Rock, no Lesnar. Nothing happens there at the end, you know. That's, I mean, at least show me more of the egg. Give me a little something to, like, look forward to in the future. Like, what, just like a cold ending there. That's how it felt like for Survivor Series. Like, okay, I get it. They very rarely do cliffhangers at the end of pay-per-views. But during the summer, they kind of were. You know, you had Lesnar, right, at SummerSlam. You had John Cena at the end of Money in the Bank. Like, there were, like, these returns and appearances and these cliffhangers at the end. So now they're just not doing them, and it really shows. It sticks out like a sore thumb. Overall, like, I feel really weird about Survivor Series this year. Like, it was, I don't want to say it was like a horrible show, but it definitely wasn't a good show. I would say it was serviceable. I wasn't like extremely like tormented during this show. I was weirdly fascinated by McMahon and the egg, even though it just seemed really stupid to me. There was something about McMahon just always gets my interest, as I've stated on a number of opinions. I mean, for all intents and purposes, McMahon is one of my favorite characters of all time. So anything with McMahon in it immediately will spark an interest within me. You know, no matter how stupid and cringy and dumb that it may be. But as far as matches, like, I did enjoy the men's match. The main event was a good match. I guess the Battle Royal was sort of fun, if not worthless. The tag match was, you know, a decent little match. You know, no complaints really there. But the, you know, aside from, like, the last few minutes of the women's Survivor Series match, like, it just felt really disjointed and bad. And the opener was just super awkward. So, like, overall, and just the fact that, like, nothing really happened on this show, I can't really recommend anybody go back and watch this show. I can't really say this was a good show or anything. It was just, like, really just felt very weird and off with, like, the quality all over the place, and just, you know, not, for being a Rock 25, like, they really should have made sure that they had The Rock on this show. Because they did kind of make you think, like, based on what they were doing during the summer, that this would have been the perfect time to bring The Rock out. Especially with all the rumors of it being Roman versus The Rock at WrestleMania. Which, for some reason, I just don't think that will happen. Because this just kind of seemed like where they would do it. And since they didn't choose tonight, it just doesn't seem like there would be a good place to put The Rock. Like, unless they're going to do it at the Rumble or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, guys, I hope you all enjoyed the review. Let me know what you thought down in the comments below. I'd be really curious. I'm gonna like take a guess that there's gonna be like people saying mostly that it wasn't good. That's what my guess is gonna be based on your comments. But please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bells to get all notifications when I post all my new videos. I want to thank all my patrons for continued support. And thanks again, guys. I'll see you next time. And what happened to that egg? Who took it?